Introduction. The door nobody told you about. There is a strange contradiction at the center of modern life. Millions of people wake up every morning believing they are moving toward happiness. Yet many go to sleep feeling farther away from it than ever before. They work harder, earn more, acquire more, learn more, optimize more. And still, something remains unsettled. A quiet restlessness lingers beneath the surface. At first, it appears to be a small discomfort, a vague feeling, a fleeting dissatisfaction. Most people ignore it. They assume the answer lies somewhere ahead, perhaps in the next promotion, the next relationship, the next achievement, the next breakthrough, the next version of themselves. So they continue moving, faster, farther, harder. Yet there comes a moment, sometimes in the middle of a crowded city, sometimes during a sleepless night, and sometimes in the middle of achieving a long-awaited dream, when a disturbing question quietly appears. Why does fulfillment keep moving away? Why does life promise so much and deliver so little? And perhaps even more importantly, why do so many people spend their entire lives chasing something they never seem to reach? Most never stay with that question long enough. The world is filled with distractions designed to pull attention elsewhere. Notifications, deadlines, endless entertainment, constant comparison, the next headline, the next trend, the next crisis, the next opportunity. The modern mind has become like a traveler standing in a storm of noise, unable to hear its own heartbeat. And yet, beneath all the noise, a deeper mystery remains. A mystery so close that most people overlook it completely. Because the problem may not be that life is failing us. The problem may be that we have been taught to look at life through a distorted lens. Imagine two people standing before the same ocean. One sees danger. The other sees wonder. One sees uncertainty. The other sees possibility. The ocean has not changed. Only the eyes looking at it have changed. And that single difference transforms everything. The same life can feel like imprisonment. The same life can feel like freedom. The same circumstances can become suffering. The same circumstances can become wisdom. The same world can appear empty, or overflowing with meaning. What changes is not always the world. What changes is vision. And hidden within that realization is a truth that has the power to alter the entire direction of a human life. But before we uncover it, we must examine one of the greatest misunderstandings humanity has ever inherited. A misunderstanding that has silently shaped civilizations, relationships, ambitions, and even our ideas about happiness itself. Most people never notice it. Yet it influences nearly every decision they make. And until it is understood, every search for peace becomes unnecessarily difficult. The journey begins there. Not with answers, but with a question. A question that opens a door few people ever discover. And beyond that door waits an entirely different way of seeing life. Chapter 1. The War Between Escape and Pursuit. For centuries, humanity has been caught in a tug-of-war. Not between nations. Not between political systems. Not even between success and failure. The real conflict has always existed inside the human heart. A silent war. A hidden struggle. A battle between two opposite impulses. One says, "Run toward life." The other whispers, "Run away from it." Most people spend their entire existence trapped somewhere between those two commands. And because of that, they never truly meet life at all. Consider the person obsessed with achievement. Every day becomes another race. Another target. Another mountain to climb. When one summit is reached, another appears beyond it. The finish line keeps relocating. Success becomes a horizon that retreats as fast as it is approached. Years pass this way. The bank account grows. The resume expands. The trophies multiply. Yet something remains strangely unchanged. The feeling of not enough. Not enough money. Not enough recognition. Not enough certainty. Not enough security. Not enough life. Yet this is where the story becomes truly interesting. Because on the opposite side stands another person who has abandoned the race entirely. They have become disillusioned, exhausted, perhaps wounded by disappointment. So they retreat. They stop engaging, stop dreaming, stop risking, stop participating fully. They convince themselves that withdrawal is wisdom, distance is freedom, avoidance is peace. But something unexpected happens. The emptiness follows them there too. One spends life running toward things. The other spends life running away from things. Neither arrives. Few people realize what this truly means. The problem is not movement. The problem is direction. And even deeper than direction. The problem may be the assumption behind both paths. Both are operating under the same hidden belief. That fulfillment exists somewhere other than here. One searches for it through acquisition. The other searches for it through avoidance. But both remain seekers. Both remain restless. Both remain convinced that peace lives somewhere else. A professor once told his students a peculiar story. He described two travelers who spent decades searching for the perfect city. The first believed happiness existed on the eastern coast. The second was convinced it existed on the western shore. They argued endlessly. Each considered the other mistaken. Each crossed deserts and mountains to reach their destination. Years later they met again. Both were exhausted. Both were disappointed. Both were still searching. One had reached the east and found dissatisfaction. The other had reached the west and found the same thing. Only then did they discover a startling possibility. Perhaps the problem had never been geography. Perhaps they had carried the source of their dissatisfaction with them, wherever they went. This may sound like a story, but look closely. Is it not the story of modern life? People relocate, change careers, enter relationships, leave relationships, build businesses, sell businesses, accumulate wealth, pursue fame, seek status, seek simplicity, seek luxury, seek minimalism, seek adventure, seek stability. And yet, beneath countless different pursuits, the same question remains unresolved. What exactly are we hoping will finally complete us? Something important is happening beneath the surface. The mind continually creates new destinations because it quietly believes fulfillment exists elsewhere. Tomorrow becomes more attractive than today. Elsewhere becomes more attractive than here. What is missing becomes more valuable than what is present. And because of this, life turns into an endless chase. The tragedy is not failure. The tragedy is endless postponement. The belief that life will begin later. That peace will arrive later. That joy will appear later. That fulfillment will finally arrive after one more achievement. One more purchase. One more breakthrough. One more victory. But later never arrives. It simply changes its disguise. There is a hidden reason this cycle continues. And understanding it may explain nearly every frustration people experience. Because the human mind possesses a remarkable ability. Whatever it receives, it quickly normalizes. What once felt extraordinary becomes ordinary. What once felt exciting becomes expected. What once felt impossible becomes insufficient. The dream house becomes just a house. The dream job becomes just work. The dream achievement becomes yesterday's news. And then the search begins again. A new horizon appears. A new desire emerges. A new promise whispers from the distance. The cycle repeats. Over and over. Year after year. Generation after generation. Few people ever stop long enough to ask why. But before we uncover the answer, another mystery demands attention. If endless pursuit cannot satisfy the human heart, and escape cannot satisfy it either, then what remains? Is there another possibility hidden between these extremes? A path that neither clings nor withdraws? A way of living that neither worships desire nor fears it? Most people never discover it. Because first, they must understand the mechanism that keeps the chase alive. And that mechanism is far more subtle than it appears. In fact, it is hiding inside the very thing most people trust the most: their own mind. And that is where our journey truly begins. Chapter 2: The Horizon That Never Arrives. There is a peculiar sadness hidden inside many success stories. From a distance, they look like victories. They appear inspiring. They seem to prove that determination works and dreams come true. Yet if you sit quietly with enough people who have achieved everything they once desired, you begin noticing something unexpected. A shadow. A hesitation. A silence that appears whenever the conversation turns toward fulfillment. Because many have reached the destination they spent years pursuing, only to discover that the feeling they expected to find there never arrived. Imagine spending 20 years building a ship. You study navigation, master every skill, survive storms, cross oceans, sacrifice sleep, endure setbacks. And finally, one glorious morning, you arrive at the island that occupied your imagination for decades. You step onto the shore expecting triumph. But instead, a strange emptiness greets you. Not because the island is disappointing, but because something deeper remains unresolved. The destination changed, yet the traveler remained the same. Most people never recognize this distinction, and that single misunderstanding quietly shapes their entire lives. A businessman once spent 40 years building an empire. Every decision was calculated, every sacrifice justified. He repeatedly told himself, "Just a little farther. Just one more milestone. Just one more year." His family heard those words thousands of times. His friends heard them. His own heart heard them. Eventually he achieved a level of wealth that younger versions of himself could never have imagined. Yet one evening, while sitting alone in a penthouse overlooking an illuminated city skyline, he experienced a realization that frightened him. The excitement lasted only a few moments. The satisfaction disappeared almost immediately. And then something familiar returned. The urge for more. The next target. The next challenge. The next summit. The next horizon. This is where the mystery deepens. Because desire rarely announces itself honestly. It does not say, "I will keep you running forever." It says, "Just one more step." It whispers, "You're almost there." And that is why it becomes so convincing. The finish line always appears close. The promise always appears reasonable. The reward always appears within reach. Yet the closer we move toward it, the farther it seems to drift. Like sunlight dancing on water. Like a rainbow stretching across the sky. Like a horizon that recedes with every mile traveled. The answer lies somewhere unexpected. The problem is not that the horizon exists. The problem is believing it can be reached. A young woman once spent years scrolling through images of other people's lives. Perfect vacations. Perfect careers. Perfect relationships. Perfect bodies. Perfect homes. Every image silently suggested the same message. Happiness exists over there. Each photograph became another horizon. Another destination. Another reason to feel incomplete. She promised herself that one day she would arrive. One day she would become the person she imagined everyone else already was. But the more she chased the image, the farther away peace seemed to move. Because comparison creates an endless road. There is always someone wealthier, someone younger, someone more accomplished, someone more admired, someone seemingly happier. The race has no finish line because the track itself is imaginary. Yet millions continue running. And perhaps nowhere is this more visible than in the modern world. People wake up already exhausted. Not because they have worked too much, but because they are psychologically sprinting toward countless invisible destinations. A better future. A better body. A better career. A better version of themselves. They live mentally in tomorrow while physically existing today. And life slips quietly through their fingers. Day after day. Year after year. Waiting for a future moment when they finally permit themselves to feel complete. But before we can understand why this happens, we must uncover something even deeper. Why does the mind continue creating new destinations? Why is enough never enough? Why does satisfaction evaporate so quickly? There is a hidden mechanism operating beneath awareness. A mechanism most people never question. Imagine carrying a bucket with a hole in its bottom. Every time water is poured into it, the bucket briefly feels full. Then slowly, silently it empties again. You conclude that more water is needed. So you gather more. And more. And more. Years pass. You become an expert at collecting water. But you never investigate the hole. Most people spend their lives improving their ability to collect. Very few examine the emptiness itself. And that changes everything. The external world can provide comfort. It can provide convenience. It can provide pleasure. It can provide opportunities. But it cannot solve an inner condition. Just as sunlight cannot quench thirst. Just as music cannot satisfy hunger. Each thing has its place. Outer tools can improve outer circumstances. But inner emptiness belongs to another dimension entirely. And here we encounter one of the greatest misunderstandings in human history. People attempt to solve inward hunger using outward objects. The result is predictable. Temporary relief. Permanent dissatisfaction. Repeated endlessly. Yet eventually, some people begin noticing the pattern. They become disillusioned. The chase loses its charm. The promises sound repetitive. The rewards feel smaller. And a dangerous conclusion often follows. If pursuit is meaningless, then perhaps I should abandon everything. At first, this appears wise. It seems like freedom. It feels like liberation. But another hidden trap waits there. A trap so subtle that entire philosophies have fallen into it. Because running away from desire is still a form of running. And what happens next changes the entire meaning of the story. A man spends his life chasing wealth. Another spends his life condemning wealth. One fills every conversation with money. The other fills every conversation with the rejection of money. Outwardly they appear opposite. Inwardly they remain connected to the same center. Money still controls both. One through attraction. The other through resistance. The chain remains. Only its appearance changes. Picture two prisoners. One is tied to a golden chain. The other is tied to an iron chain. Both spend their days arguing about which chain is superior. Neither notices the obvious truth. Both remain chained. The material is irrelevant. The bondage remains. This is one of the deepest insights a human being can discover. Opposition is not freedom. Avoidance is not transcendence. Running away from something often keeps it alive. Sometimes even more powerfully than pursuing it. Consider someone terrified of failure. They think about failure constantly. They plan against it. Protect themselves from it. Worry about it. Analyze it. Obsess over it. Failure becomes the center of their life. Ironically, their resistance creates a relationship as strong as attachment itself. What we fight can occupy us just as completely as what we chase. Few people realize this. But the understanding is crucial. Because without it, the search simply changes costumes. The actor remains the same. There is a hidden room inside the human mind. Most people never enter it consciously. Everything rejected gets stored there. Every fear. Every suppressed longing. Every denied impulse. Every forbidden dream. Nothing truly disappears. It merely changes location. And what is buried in darkness does not become weaker. Often it becomes stronger, more mysterious, more influential, more difficult to understand. This is why people are frequently surprised by their own thoughts, their own reactions, their own dreams, their own contradictions. Something important is happening beneath the surface. The unconscious mind is speaking a language they never learned to hear. The person who suppresses desire may imagine it has vanished. But suppression is not transformation. It is concealment. Like pushing smoke beneath a carpet and pretending the fire is gone. Eventually it finds another way out. A dream. A fantasy. An obsession. An unexplained emotional reaction. A recurring temptation. The energy remains. Only its form changes. And until it is understood, the struggle continues. So we arrive at a remarkable discovery. Pursuit fails. Escape fails. Indulgence creates bondage. Suppression creates bondage. The obvious question now emerges. If neither path leads to freedom, what remains? Is there a way to encounter desire without becoming its servant? Is there a way to observe fear without becoming controlled by it? Is there a way to live fully without becoming trapped by either attachment or rejection? The answer exists. But it requires a completely different quality of seeing. Not chasing. Not escaping. Not fighting. Not surrendering. Something else. Something extraordinarily simple. And yet so rare that most people spend their entire lives overlooking it. In the next chapter, we will step through the doorway into that forgotten territory. The territory where transformation begins, not through effort, but through awareness. And that is where the real mystery of freedom finally starts to unfold. Chapter 3. The Light That Changes Everything. There is a moment in every human life when a profound choice quietly appears. Most people never notice it. They remain so occupied with changing their circumstances that they never question the one thing creating those circumstances from within. Yet sooner or later, anyone who sincerely searches for truth arrives at a startling realization. The battle is not outside. The battle is inside. And even more surprising, the battle itself may be unnecessary. For thousands of years people have been taught to conquer themselves. Control yourself. Discipline yourself. Fight your weaknesses. Destroy your impulses. Defeat your desires. Suppress your fears. The language sounds noble. The intention appears wise. But hidden beneath this approach is a dangerous assumption. It assumes that inner transformation happens through conflict. And conflict always creates division. The moment you begin fighting yourself, you become two people. The fighter. And the one being fought. A civil war begins inside the mind. One voice commands. Another resists. One condemns. Another defends. One demands perfection. Another rebels. And the result is exhaustion. Not freedom. Modern life already places enormous pressure on the human mind. People are trying to become better employees, better parents, better spouses, better leaders, better investors, better entrepreneurs, better versions of themselves. Many are carrying invisible burdens: financial uncertainty, career anxiety, relationship struggles, the fear of falling behind. The fear of being forgotten. The fear of not being enough. Then they bring the same attitude into their inner lives. They turn self-discovery into another battlefield. Another project. Another competition. Another struggle. and something essential gets lost. Because awareness grows in a completely different atmosphere. It grows in observation, not conflict. Imagine standing beside a river. The water flows continuously. Leaves drift past. Branches move with the current. Reflections appear and disappear. Now imagine jumping into the river and trying to stop every leaf. Trying to control every ripple. Trying to rearrange every movement. The task is impossible. Yet this is exactly what many people attempt inside their minds. Every thought becomes a problem. Every emotion becomes an enemy. Every impulse becomes a threat. Every fear becomes a personal failure. The river is transformed into a war zone. And because of that, the deeper intelligence hidden beneath the surface remains unseen. Something important is happening beneath the surface. Thoughts are not the problem. Emotions are not the problem. Desires are not the problem. The problem is identification. The moment you become completely identified with a thought, it owns you. The moment you become completely identified with an emotion, it controls you. The moment you become completely identified with a desire, it directs your life. But a remarkable shift occurs when observation enters. Suddenly there is space. You are no longer drowning in the river. You are standing on the shore, watching it flow. And that single shift changes everything. A traveler once entered an old library hidden deep within a mountain valley. The building contained thousands of books, ancient wisdom, forgotten histories, maps of distant worlds. The caretaker handed him a lantern and said, "Everything you seek is already here. The only problem is that most rooms are dark." The traveler spent years searching through the library. At first he tried reorganizing the books. He changed shelves, moved furniture, rearranged rooms. Yet nothing became clearer. Finally he understood what the caretaker had meant. The solution was not rearrangement. The solution was illumination. Once he carried the lantern into a room, confusion disappeared naturally. Not because the room changed. Because he could finally see. This simple image contains one of the deepest truths about inner growth. Most people spend their lives rearranging the furniture of the mind. New beliefs, new habits, new goals, new identities, new philosophies. And while these can be helpful, they often leave the deeper darkness untouched. Awareness works differently. Awareness does not rearrange. Awareness illuminates. And when something is fully illuminated, transformation begins naturally. Not through force. Not through pressure. Not through discipline alone. Through seeing. Consider anger. Most people know only two responses: expression or suppression. One person explodes. Another person swallows the emotion. One damages relationships. The other damages themselves. Neither understands the energy. Neither studies it. Neither investigates its source. Yet there is a third possibility. Observation. The moment anger arises, simply watch. Feel its movement. Notice its temperature. Observe its rhythm. See how it enters the body. See what thoughts accompany it. See how it seeks expression. Do not justify it. Do not condemn it. Simply remain awake. And a strange thing begins to happen. The destructive fire slowly loses its intensity. But the energy remains. The vitality remains. The aliveness remains. Only the blindness disappears. The same principle applies everywhere. Jealousy contains information. Fear contains intelligence. Desire contains energy. Ambition contains momentum. Nothing inside you is entirely useless. Nothing appears by accident. Everything carries a message. Everything carries energy. Everything carries potential. The question is whether you meet it consciously. Most people either worship their energies or fear them. Very few understand them. And understanding is where transformation begins. Think of a master gardener. When weeds appear, the gardener does not become angry. The gardener becomes curious. Why are they growing? What conditions created them? What are they revealing about the soil? Similarly, awareness approaches inner experiences with curiosity rather than judgment. Judgment closes the door. Curiosity opens it. Condemnation creates blindness. Observation creates understanding. And understanding possesses extraordinary power. Power without violence. Power without force. Power without conflict. A wise father once gave his daughter an unusual gift before she left home to begin her own life. It was not money, not property, not jewelry, not advice about success. He handed her a small notebook. Inside, on the first page, he had written only one sentence. Become interested in yourself. Years later, she would describe those words as the greatest gift she ever received. Whenever fear appeared, she studied it. Whenever resentment appeared, she observed it. Whenever excitement appeared, she watched it. Whenever loneliness appeared, she listened to it. Gradually, she discovered something astonishing. The observer within her was becoming stronger than the experiences she observed. The sky was becoming larger than the weather. And with that realization came freedom. Few people realize what this truly means. Freedom is not the absence of emotions. Freedom is not the absence of desire. Freedom is not the absence of fear. Freedom is the ability to remain conscious in their presence. The storm may still arrive. But now there is a center that remains untouched. A silent awareness that watches without becoming lost. And from that center, wisdom begins to emerge. This understanding leads us toward an even deeper mystery. If awareness can transform anger, if awareness can transform fear, if awareness can transform desire, then what exactly is awareness itself? Who is the one observing? Who is the witness standing behind every thought? Who is the silent presence noticing every emotion? Most people spend their entire lives looking outward and never ask this question. Yet hidden inside it lies one of the greatest discoveries available to a human being. A discovery capable of changing not merely your emotions, but your entire understanding of who you are. And that is where our journey now turns. Because the next door opens into territory few people ever explore. Not the contents of the mind, but the one who is aware of the mind. And there, the real adventure begins. Chapter 4. The Witness and the Machine. There is a question that silently determines the quality of every human life. Most people never ask it. They spend decades pursuing goals, solving problems, managing responsibilities, and reacting to circumstances without ever pausing long enough to investigate the one mystery from which all other mysteries arise. Who is living your life? At first the question seems strange. The answer appears obvious. I am. But if that answer were truly understood, human suffering would be far less common than it is. Because what most people call I is often nothing more than a collection of habits, reactions, memories, fears, ambitions, and unconscious patterns operating automatically beneath awareness. And that is where the story becomes truly interesting. Imagine entering a magnificent theater. The stage is alive with activity. Characters appear. Arguments unfold. Victories happen. Defeats happen. Romance appears. Conflict appears. Comedy and tragedy dance across the stage. Most people become so absorbed in the performance that they forget they are sitting in the audience. They lose themselves in the story. They cry with the characters. Fear with the characters. Celebrate with the characters. Suffer with the characters. And because of this, they never discover a remarkable truth. They are not the play. They are the one watching it. This simple realization contains the seed of freedom. The thoughts moving through your mind are events. The emotions moving through your heart are events. The fears that visit you are events. The desires that arise are events. But something deeper remains constant. Something watches them all. Something notices every change. Something remains present while everything else comes and goes. Most people never investigate this silent presence. Instead, they become completely identified with the passing events. And identification creates bondage. A renowned musician once described an experience that changed his life. For years he had battled anxiety before performances. Every concert became a struggle. Every appearance felt like a threat. His mind constantly repeated the same thoughts. What if I fail? What if I disappoint everyone? What if I make a mistake? One evening, moments before stepping onto the stage, something unusual happened. Instead of fighting the anxiety, he simply observed it. He became curious. He watched the racing heartbeat, the trembling hands, the nervous thoughts, the tension in his stomach. And suddenly he noticed something extraordinary. The anxiety was being observed. Which meant the anxiety could not be who he truly was. There was an observer standing behind it. A silent awareness untouched by the storm. The performance that night became one of the greatest of his career. Not because the anxiety disappeared immediately, but because he stopped becoming it. Few people realize what this truly means. Every emotion says, "Become me." Every fear says, "Become me." Every desire says, "Become me." Every thought says, "Believe me." And most people obey automatically. Without question. Without awareness. Without investigation. The mechanism runs itself. A thought appears. A reaction follows. A behavior emerges. A consequence occurs. Then the cycle repeats. Again. And again. And again. This repetition creates what can only be called mechanical living. A life lived from programming rather than presence. A life governed by unconscious momentum rather than conscious intelligence. Look closely and you will see it everywhere. Someone receives criticism. Instant anger appears. Someone experiences rejection. Instant insecurity appears. Someone achieves success. Instant pride appears. Someone encounters uncertainty. Instant fear appears. The responses are predictable because the program has been running for years. Perhaps decades. Sometimes generations. And yet most people call this freedom. But can a machine be free? Can a reaction be free? Can a habit be free? The answer lies somewhere deeper. Consider a self-driving vehicle traveling down a road. It follows its programming. It responds according to predetermined instructions. Its behavior is predictable. Its choices are limited by its design. Now imagine a conscious driver sitting behind the wheel. Everything changes. Possibilities emerge. Creativity emerges. Intelligence emerges. Presence emerges. The vehicle remains the same. The road remains the same. The destination may even remain the same. But now awareness has entered the system. And awareness changes everything. Human beings possess a similar potential. Most people live through conditioning. The conscious individual lives through awareness. The difference is subtle. But the consequences are enormous. This is why self-observation is not merely a spiritual exercise. It is a revolution. A revolution against unconscious living. A revolution against automatic reactions. A revolution against inherited patterns. The moment awareness enters a pattern, the pattern begins losing its authority. The moment you observe a habit clearly, you are already separate from it. The moment you observe fear, you are already larger than fear. The moment you observe anger, you are already more than anger. Observation creates distance. And distance creates freedom. Yet something important remains misunderstood. Many people imagine awareness is a technique, a tool, a method, a strategy for self-improvement. But awareness is much more profound than that. Awareness is a different way of existing. It transforms not merely what you do, it transforms how you see. And when vision changes, life changes. The world remains the same, yet everything appears different. Think of a person wearing dark glasses from childhood. For years they assume the world itself is dim. The colors seem muted. The light seems weak. The beauty appears incomplete. One day the glasses are removed. The world has not changed. The mountains have not changed. The sky has not changed. The trees have not changed. Only perception has changed. And suddenly everything looks new. Awareness functions in much the same way. It removes the filters through which unconsciousness interprets reality. This is why awareness does not merely solve problems. It reveals truths. A person may spend years trying to solve loneliness. Yet awareness reveals the hidden fear beneath loneliness. Someone may spend decades trying to overcome insecurity. Yet awareness reveals the unconscious beliefs creating insecurity. Another person may struggle endlessly against anxiety. Yet awareness uncovers the future-oriented thinking generating anxiety. Awareness does not fight symptoms. Awareness illuminates causes. And once causes are seen clearly, transformation often happens naturally. The modern world encourages exactly the opposite. It teaches distraction, constant stimulation, endless consumption, continuous noise. Most people know more about celebrities than they know about themselves. More about market trends than their own minds. More about world events than the hidden forces shaping their daily choices. Attention has become outwardly addicted. And because of this, the inner kingdom remains unexplored. But there is one detail nobody notices. Everything people seek outside ultimately points back inside. Success seeks fulfillment. Wealth seeks security. Achievement seeks significance. Relationships seek connection. Recognition seeks validation. Beneath every pursuit lies an inner experience. And that experience can only be discovered through awareness. The witness is not against life. The witness enriches life. The witness does not reject ambition. The witness understands ambition. The witness does not reject love. The witness deepens love. The witness does not reject success. The witness prevents success from becoming slavery. Awareness is not withdrawal. Awareness is participation without imprisonment. Engagement without attachment. Presence without blindness. As awareness grows, a remarkable shift begins to occur. Life stops feeling repetitive. Each moment becomes fresh. Each experience becomes a lesson. Each challenge becomes a teacher. Each emotion becomes a messenger. Even suffering begins revealing hidden wisdom. The universe starts speaking through everything. Not because life has changed. Because you have begun listening. And when listening deepens, another mystery gradually emerges. A mystery even more profound than awareness itself. If awareness is observing thoughts, who is observing awareness? If there is a witness, what is the true nature of the witness? Where does it come from? What remains when all thoughts become silent? What remains when every identity falls away? The next stage of our journey begins there. Not with the mind. Not with emotions. Not even with awareness itself. But with the vast and mysterious presence hidden behind it all. And that discovery has the power to transform the meaning of existence itself. Chapter 5. The Treasure Beneath Your Feet. Imagine spending your entire life searching for something that has been with you from the beginning. Imagine crossing oceans to find a jewel that was hidden in your pocket. Imagine wandering through deserts looking for water while standing beside a spring. It sounds impossible. Yet this may be the most accurate description of the human condition. Most people are searching. Searching for fulfillment. Searching for peace. Searching for meaning. Searching for security. Searching for love. searching for happiness, searching for a feeling that finally tells them, "You have arrived." But there is a hidden reason so many searches end in disappointment. The seeker is looking in the wrong direction. From childhood, attention is trained outward. We learn how to read books, how to solve problems, how to earn money, how to build careers, how to impress others, how to survive in the world. Very few are taught how to understand themselves. Very few are taught how to explore consciousness. Very few are taught how to look inward. As a result, people become experts in navigating the outer world while remaining strangers to their own inner landscape. And what we do not understand eventually controls us. There is a fascinating paradox in modern life. Never before has humanity possessed so much information. Yet many people have never felt more disconnected from themselves. They can access the world's knowledge from a device in their pocket. They can communicate across continents instantly. They can learn almost anything. Yet they often struggle to answer the simplest question. Who am I beneath all the noise? Beneath the job title. Beneath the social media profile. Beneath the accomplishments. Beneath the fears. Beneath the expectations. Beneath the endless mental chatter. Who is there? Most people never stay with that question long enough. Because the answer does not come from thinking. It comes from discovering. And discovery requires a different kind of courage. A woman once spent years restoring an old house she inherited from her grandparents. The structure was beautiful but neglected. Walls needed repair. Floors needed replacement. Windows needed restoration. She invested enormous effort into the project. One afternoon, while renovating the basement, a worker accidentally struck a hidden compartment beneath the stone foundation. Inside was a collection of rare coins and valuable artifacts that had been concealed generations earlier. The treasure had been there all along. The house was never poor. Only unexplored. What happened next changed her life. She realized that the greatest wealth she discovered was not the treasure itself. It was the understanding that what appears empty may simply be undiscovered. This insight applies directly to human beings. Most people believe they are lacking something. More confidence. More peace. More happiness. More purpose. More worth. More security. Yet perhaps the situation is very different. Perhaps what they seek is already present. Hidden. Covered. Forgotten. But present. And that possibility changes everything. Because if fulfillment must be created, the journey may take forever. But if fulfillment must be discovered, the journey becomes entirely different. The great explorers of consciousness understood something extraordinary. They were not trying to become something. They were trying to uncover something. This distinction is subtle. Yet it changes the entire direction of the search. A sculptor does not create the statue from nothing. The statue already exists within the stone. The sculptor simply removes what conceals it. Likewise, the deepest work of awareness is not self-creation. It is self-discovery. Removing illusion. Removing unconsciousness. Removing identification. Removing false assumptions. Until what has always been present begins to reveal itself. Something important is happening beneath the surface. Most people assume peace is something they must acquire. Yet every experience of genuine peace contains a clue. Have you ever noticed that moments of deep peace often arise when striving temporarily stops? Watching a sunset. Listening to rain. Standing beside the ocean. Holding a sleeping child. Walking beneath a sky filled with stars. For a brief moment, the mind becomes quiet. And something deeper emerges. A presence. A stillness. A sense of wholeness. Most people assume the experience came from the sunset, the ocean, or the stars. But perhaps those moments simply removed distractions long enough for them to notice what was already there. This possibility is both beautiful and unsettling. Because if peace already exists beneath the noise, then the challenge is not obtaining it. The challenge is uncovering it. And uncovering requires patience. Something modern culture rarely encourages. People want instant answers. Instant success. Instant wealth. Instant transformation. But inner discovery follows different laws. The deepest treasures often reveal themselves gradually. Layer by layer. Insight by insight. Awareness by awareness. The real breakthrough comes later. After the excitement fades. After expectations relax. After observation deepens. A mountaineer once described a lesson he learned while climbing through dense fog. The summit was invisible. Progress felt impossible. Discouragement grew with every step. Several times he considered turning back. But his guide offered a simple piece of advice. Do not focus on the mountain. Focus on the next step. Hours later, the fog suddenly lifted. The summit had been nearby all along. The mountain had not changed. Only visibility had changed. The journey inward often unfolds in the same way. People become discouraged because they cannot immediately see the destination. They expect dramatic revelations. Instant enlightenment. Immediate certainty. But growth usually happens quietly. A little more awareness today. A little more clarity tomorrow. A little less unconsciousness next week. Then one day, something shifts. And life is never quite the same again. Few people realize what this truly means. The treasure within is not hiding from you. It is waiting for you. Waiting beneath distractions. Waiting beneath habits. Waiting beneath endless thinking. Waiting beneath fear. Waiting beneath old identities. Waiting beneath every story you tell yourself about who you are. The distance is not measured in miles. The distance is measured in awareness. This is why running away from your experiences never works. Every emotion becomes part of the path. Every challenge becomes part of the excavation. Every disappointment becomes part of the teaching. Your frustrations reveal hidden attachments. Your fears reveal hidden beliefs. Your desires reveal hidden assumptions. Your struggles reveal hidden unconsciousness. Everything contains information. Everything contains instruction. Everything becomes meaningful when awareness enters. Consider how a skilled archaeologist works. When something valuable may be buried underground, the archaeologist does not attack the site. Does not condemn the soil. Does not become impatient with the earth. Instead, there is careful observation, patience, attention, respect. Each layer is examined. Each discovery is studied. Each clue is honored. The inner journey requires the same approach. You are not digging against yourself. You are uncovering yourself. And that changes the entire atmosphere of transformation. Many people abandon the search too early. This is one of the greatest tragedies of human life. They spend years pursuing external goals. Then, after a few attempts at inner exploration, they conclude there is nothing there. But what if they stopped just before the breakthrough? What if they walked away one insight too early? One observation too early? One layer too early? The answer lies somewhere unexpected. The greatest treasures often reveal themselves immediately after the moment when most people quit. So do not run from your confusion. Study it. Do not run from your fear. Understand it. Do not run from your loneliness. Listen to it. Do not run from your anger. Observe it. The doorway you seek may be hidden inside the very experience you are trying to avoid. And that realization changes everything. Because the path is no longer somewhere else. The path is here. The teacher is here. The lesson is here. The treasure is here. Beneath your thoughts. Beneath your emotions. Beneath your stories. Beneath the endless movement of the mind. Something timeless waits. Something untouched. Something extraordinarily alive. And in the next stage of our journey, we will begin exploring the greatest mystery of all. Not the treasure itself, but the one who discovers it. Because hidden behind every thought, every emotion, every experience, and every moment of awareness is a presence that most people never notice. Yet discovering that presence may be the single most important discovery a human being can ever make. And that is where the deepest adventure begins. Chapter 6. The Seed and the Sky. There is a misconception that has quietly followed humanity for centuries. It appears in different forms, different cultures, different philosophies, different eras. Yet its message remains essentially the same. It whispers, "You are not enough. You must become something else. You must transform into someone different. You must earn your worth. You must prove your value." And because people believe this message, they spend their lives chasing an improved version of themselves. A future self. A perfected self. A superior self. But what if the deepest spiritual discovery points in an entirely different direction? What if awakening is not about becoming more? What if awakening is about uncovering what has always been there? This possibility changes everything. Because if fulfillment depends on becoming someone else, then peace remains permanently postponed. It remains trapped in tomorrow, in the future, in the next achievement, in the next breakthrough. But if fulfillment already exists as a hidden possibility within you, then the entire journey transforms. The goal is no longer acquisition. The goal becomes revelation. Not construction. Discovery. Not becoming. Remembering. Imagine an ancient cathedral standing beneath thick vines and tangled growth. Years pass. Decades pass. Eventually people forget the cathedral even exists. Travelers pass by and see only wilderness. Only overgrowth. Only neglect. Then one day someone begins clearing away the vegetation. Branch by branch. Leaf by leaf. Stone by stone. Gradually the magnificent structure emerges. Now ask yourself, was the cathedral created? No. It was revealed. It had been there the entire time. Hidden. Not absent. Concealed. The same principle applies to consciousness. Your deepest nature is not missing. It is obscured. And this distinction may be one of the most important insights in the entire journey. Modern culture is built upon improvement. Improve your income. Improve your body. Improve your productivity. Improve your social status. Improve your influence. And while there is nothing wrong with growth, something crucial is often overlooked. Improvement is endless. There will always be another level. Another target. Another comparison. Another standard. The game never ends. Yet beneath improvement lies something much deeper. Self-recognition. The discovery of what remains valuable before achievement. Before status. Before success. Before failure. Before praise. Before criticism. Before every identity the world has ever assigned to you. There is a hidden reason this discovery feels so liberating. Because it removes one of the heaviest burdens people carry. The burden of constantly trying to become worthy. Many people spend their lives feeling incomplete. Not good enough. Not successful enough. Not attractive enough. Not intelligent enough. Not accomplished enough. And because of this, every goal becomes emotionally loaded. Every achievement becomes a desperate attempt to fill an invisible wound. Yet no achievement can heal what was never broken. And that is where the story becomes truly interesting. Perhaps the deepest part of you has never been damaged at all. Perhaps only your perception has been damaged. A music teacher once told her students something they never forgot. She said, "When a piano falls out of tune, the music does not disappear. The instrument simply needs adjustment." Years later, one of her students reflected on those words during a difficult period of life. He suddenly realized that consciousness works similarly. Fear may distort perception. Stress may distort perception. Trauma may distort perception. Conditioning may distort perception. But the deeper essence remains untouched. The music remains. Only the instrument requires attention. And this realization brought enormous relief. Because it suggested that healing was not about creating value. It was about reconnecting with value that already existed. Few people realize what this truly means. If the essential treasure already exists within you, then every human being shares the same fundamental possibility. The differences we obsess over become far less important. One person may possess greater wealth. Another may possess greater education. Another may possess greater influence. Yet beneath these temporary distinctions lies the same potential for awakening. The same capacity for awareness. The same possibility of discovering inner freedom. The same seed. Only the conditions differ. Think of a forest after winter. Some trees bloom early. Others bloom later. Some grow tall. Others remain small. Some stand on hillsides. Others grow beside rivers. Yet every seed contains an innate intelligence. An invisible blueprint moving toward expression. Human consciousness possesses a similar potential. No one must manufacture it. No one must import it. No one must purchase it. It already exists. Waiting. Quietly. Patiently. Beneath layers of distraction. Beneath years of conditioning. Beneath endless mental noise. This understanding carries profound implications. It means awakening is not reserved for a spiritual elite. Not for monks. Not for mystics. Not for philosophers. Not for people living in caves or monasteries. The possibility belongs to everyone. The entrepreneur overwhelmed by responsibilities. The parent struggling to balance family and work. The student uncertain about the future. The professional experiencing burnout. The retiree searching for meaning. The artist seeking inspiration. The individual lying awake at night wondering whether there must be something more to life. The same doorway stands open for all. Because awareness belongs to no special group. It is the birthright of consciousness itself. And yet something prevents most people from stepping through that doorway. A subtle misunderstanding. They assume awakening requires extraordinary experiences. Visions. Miracles. Supernatural events. Dramatic revelations. But often the opposite is true. Awakening begins with ordinary observation. Watching a thought. Watching an emotion. Watching a reaction. Watching a fear. Watching a desire. The extraordinary emerges from seeing the ordinary completely. And that single realization changes the entire approach. There is another mystery hiding beneath the surface. People often imagine that awareness is passive. That observation means doing nothing. But genuine awareness is incredibly active. It is the highest form of intelligence. It sees without distortion, without prejudice, without immediate judgment, without unconscious reaction. And because it sees clearly, it responds wisely. Awareness is not withdrawal from life. Awareness is deeper participation in life. It allows you to engage without becoming imprisoned, to love without clinging, to succeed without becoming arrogant, to fail without becoming defeated, to experience life fully while remaining inwardly free. This is why awareness gradually becomes a form of inner guidance. As understanding deepens, something remarkable begins to happen. Decisions become clearer. Relationships become healthier. Priorities become simpler. The endless noise starts fading. Not because life becomes easier. Because perception becomes clearer. And clarity changes everything. Most people spend years searching for teachers. Searching for systems. Searching for methods. Searching for answers. And these can be helpful. But eventually every genuine teaching points toward the same truth. The final authority must be discovered within. The deepest wisdom cannot be borrowed. The most important insights cannot be inherited. No one can become conscious for you. No one can understand for you. No one can awaken for you. The journey is intimate, personal, direct. And that is precisely what makes it transformative. There is a deeper truth still ahead. We have explored desire. We have explored awareness. We have explored the witness. We have explored the hidden treasure. But an even greater question remains unanswered. If awareness reveals the treasure, what exactly is that treasure? What is the nature of the presence discovered beneath thought? What remains when every false identity falls away? What exists before the mind creates its endless stories? Most people never ask these questions. Yet hidden within them lies the next piece of the puzzle. The piece that transforms awareness from a practice into a revelation. And that is where our journey now leads. Beyond self-improvement. Beyond self-observation. Beyond even the search itself. Toward the mysterious center of being that has been quietly waiting from the very beginning. And once that center is discovered, life is never seen in the same way again. Chapter 7. The Homecoming. For most of human history, people have imagined that truth is something distant. Something hidden behind mountains. Beyond scriptures. Beyond philosophies. Beyond years of struggle. Beyond impossible achievements. The assumption seems reasonable. After all, the most valuable things often require effort. Great careers require effort. Great relationships require effort. Great works of art require effort. So naturally, people assume the deepest spiritual discovery must also require a monumental struggle. Yet what if the greatest discovery is not something you achieve? What if it is something you stop overlooking? This possibility appears almost too simple. The mind immediately resists it. Surely truth must be complicated. Surely awakening must be difficult. Surely enlightenment must belong to rare individuals with extraordinary discipline. But life repeatedly teaches a different lesson. The most essential things are often the closest. Air is invisible. Yet without it, nothing survives. The heartbeat works silently. Yet it sustains an entire life. Awareness itself remains unnoticed. Yet every experience depends upon it. The most important realities are often hidden not because they are distant, but because they are overwhelmingly near. Imagine spending your life searching for your glasses while they rest upon your face. The harder you search, the more frustrated you become. You look everywhere except the one place where they actually are. This is the hidden comedy at the center of the spiritual search. Human beings are looking for the source of peace using the very awareness that is peace. Looking for truth using the very consciousness through which truth is known. Looking for the universe while standing inside it. Looking for home while never having left. And that single realization changes everything. The journey we have traveled through these pages has revealed a pattern. Desire could not satisfy the heart. Suppression could not satisfy the heart. Achievement could not satisfy the heart. Escape could not satisfy the heart. Neither indulgence nor renunciation revealed freedom. Something deeper was required. Awareness. Observation. Understanding. The willingness to see without distortion. And as awareness deepened, a remarkable discovery emerged. The suffering was not created by life. The suffering was created by unconsciousness. Life itself was never the prison. Identification was the prison. The world itself was never the problem. Blindness was the problem. A woman once spent years restoring antique mirrors. Many arrived tarnished and darkened by age. At first glance they appeared ruined. Their reflective surfaces were hidden beneath layers of dust, corrosion, and neglect. Visitors often assumed the mirrors were worthless. But the woman knew something important. The reflection had never been damaged. Only the surface had become obscured. Patiently she cleaned each mirror. Gradually clarity returned. And what seemed broken revealed its original brilliance. The human spirit is remarkably similar. Your essential nature does not need repair. It does not need improvement. It does not need enhancement. It needs revelation. The reflection is already there. The dust simply needs to be removed. Few people realize what this truly means. The deepest transformation is not becoming extraordinary. The deepest transformation is becoming authentic. It is not adding another identity. It is releasing false identities. Not becoming special. Becoming real. The modern world constantly encourages performance. People perform confidence. Perform success. Perform happiness. Perform spirituality. Perform importance. And after years of performance, many forget who they are beneath the masks. Awareness gently removes those masks. Not through violence. Not through effort. Through understanding. And what remains is something profoundly simple. Presence. This is why genuine awakening often feels less like gaining something and more like remembering something. A forgotten song. A familiar fragrance. A childhood landscape revisited after many years. Something quietly whispers, "I have always known this." Because the truth is not foreign. The truth is intimate. Closer than thought. Closer than emotion. Closer than personality. Closer than every story ever told about you. It has been silently accompanying you since the beginning. There is another mystery most people never notice. When the struggle begins to disappear, life itself changes character. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. Simple moments acquire depth. Conversations become richer. Relationships become more authentic. Nature becomes more alive. Silence becomes more meaningful. Even challenges begin revealing hidden gifts. Not because circumstances become perfect, but because awareness transforms the way reality is experienced. Life stops feeling like a problem to solve. It becomes an experience to live. This is the flowering. Not an escape from humanity. A deeper embodiment of it. Not withdrawal from life. Participation without attachment. Not indifference. Presence. Not passivity. Intelligence. The awakened person does not stop loving. Love becomes purer. The awakened person does not stop creating. Creativity becomes freer. The awakened person does not stop living. Life becomes more vivid. Because nothing is being resisted anymore. Nothing is being denied. Nothing is being chased. There is simply a profound alignment with reality as it is. And then something extraordinary begins to emerge from the silence. Not a belief. Not a doctrine. Not a philosophy. An experience. A direct knowing. A living presence. People throughout history have used many names for it. Source. Consciousness. Being. The universe. The infinite. The sacred. Yet every name ultimately fails. Because words can point. They cannot contain. The moment the mind becomes quiet enough, what remains cannot be explained. Only experienced. And that experience feels strangely familiar. As though you have returned home after a very long journey. This is the great paradox. The seeker spends years searching, only to discover that what was sought was present from the beginning. The traveler crosses vast distances, only to discover the destination was hidden within the traveler. The question dissolves into the answer. The search dissolves into discovery. The separation dissolves into unity. And suddenly life is no longer divided between me and existence. There is only participation, only presence, only wonder, only gratitude. The story appears to end here. But in reality, it is only beginning. Because awakening is not the end of life. It is the beginning of conscious living. The beginning of seeing clearly. The beginning of loving deeply. The beginning of participating fully. the beginning of discovering the sacred hidden within ordinary moments. And that journey continues with every breath, every conversation, every challenge, every sunrise, every silence, every step. The destination becomes the path itself, and the path becomes life. Epilogue. The treasure was never lost. If you remember nothing else from this book, remember this. You do not need to become someone else. You do not need to wait for another lifetime. You do not need to earn your worth. You do not need permission to awaken. The seed already exists within you. The treasure already exists within you. The light already exists within you. Perhaps, at this very moment, you are standing exactly where the old beggar once sat, searching everywhere, asking life for what already rests beneath your feet. Perhaps the peace you seek is closer than you imagine. Perhaps the love you seek is closer than you imagine. Perhaps the meaning you seek is closer than you imagine. Perhaps what you have been calling a journey is really a remembering of what has always been true. When fear appears, observe it. When desire appears, observe it. When anger appears, observe it. When joy appears, observe it. When confusion appears, observe it. Become interested. Become curious. Become aware. Life itself will begin teaching you. Because awareness transforms everything it touches. There will still be challenges. There will still be uncertainty. There will still be moments of pain. But something fundamental will have changed. You will no longer be lost within them. You will know there is a silent center within you that remains untouched. A witness. A presence. A stillness deeper than circumstance. And from that stillness comes strength, clarity, compassion, freedom. One day, perhaps unexpectedly, you may pause in the middle of an ordinary moment, watching rain strike a window, walking beneath evening light, sharing a conversation, sitting quietly alone. And suddenly you may realize that nothing is missing. Nothing essential has ever been missing. The mind may still seek. The world may still move. Life may still unfold with all its mysteries. But beneath it all, there is completeness. A quiet wholeness. A peace that does not depend on achievement. A joy that does not depend on possession. A love that does not depend on conditions. And in that moment you may smile. Because you will understand what the entire journey was trying to reveal. The treasure was never absent. The treasure was never hidden by life. It was hidden only by distraction. Only by unconsciousness. Only by looking in the wrong direction. So wherever you are now, begin there. Not tomorrow. Not when circumstances improve. Not when life becomes easier. Now. Observe. Listen. Awaken. Trust the process of awareness. Trust the intelligence of consciousness. Trust the silent unfolding happening within you. Because beneath every fear, every struggle, every question, and every search, something luminous waits. Something timeless. Something infinitely alive. And it has been waiting for you all along. With gratitude for your presence on this journey, and with deep respect for the light that already lives within you, I leave you with a simple invitation. Look within. The adventure begins there. And it never truly ends.